The chamber of the Galactic Council was always filled with whispers, but tonight, the whispers died the moment the great doors opened. Every counselor in the hall turned their eyes to the massive screen at the center of the room. The glowing, blue map of the galaxy pulsed with flashing red signals. Alarms rang in silent warnings across the chamber. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that froze the blood of every alien present. Attack on Earth imminent. No one spoke at first. The silence itself was terrifying. The oldest counselors, beings who had lived through a dozen wars, lowered their heads as if the very idea of those words was madness. To attack Earth? To bring war to humanity itself? It was something only the insane would attempt. Counselor Dareth, a tall figure draped in silver robes, broke the silence. First, his voice trembled. This cannot be true. No empire, no fleet, no species in their right mind would ever dare such a thing. The last ones who tried, they vanished from the stars. Around the chamber, holograms flickered to life, showing reports from scouts, intercepted transmissions, and the movement of enemy fleets heading straight toward the Sol system. The symbols of a rising coalition appeared on the screens, an alliance of younger species, bold and reckless. They had grown arrogant, believing that humanity was no longer the unstoppable power the galaxy remembered. Counselor Shira, whose long, scaled neck glistened under the cold blue lights, hissed in disbelief. Fools. They think Earth has grown, weak. They think humanity has softened. They forget the history written in fire. Another counselor slammed his fist on the table. History? They are children who play with knives, not knowing they stand before a beast. Humanity is no ordinary world. They come from a death world. Their storms destroy continents. Their beasts hunt in packs. Their gravity crushes weaker bones. And yet these attackers dare to bring war to them? Madness. Pure madness. But still, the signals were undeniable. Fleet after fleet of enemy ships was on the move. The attackers believed they would strike Earth fast, overwhelm its defenses and break its spirit before the galaxy could react. They thought humans were divided, their fleets scattered, their focus turned inward. They thought wrong. The council chamber grew colder as another image lit up the walls, a recording of human warships from centuries past. The massive destroyers, black as night, moving in silence before unleashing storms of firepower that shattered entire armadas. Even the bravest counselors could not help but remember the truth. When pushed, humanity never fought small wars. Humanity fought to end wars. Counselor Theron, one of the oldest present, finally spoke with a voice that carried both fear and respect. Do they not remember the siege of Drelos? Do they not remember the Ashen War? Humanity stood against three empires. At once and all three burned. I saw it. I saw the sky filled with their ships, and I saw those ships fall like sparks into the dark. But even as the elders spoke, some of the younger counselors whispered doubts. Perhaps the attackers were right. Perhaps humanity had changed. Perhaps Earth had forgotten how to bare its teeth. One young delegate whispered, "Humans are not the same. They live in peace now. They have families, colonies, trade. They will not fight like before. Perhaps this time, Earth will fall." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some shouted that humanity would rise again. Others feared that the impossible might finally happen, that Earth might truly be broken. The tension grew so heavy that the walls seemed to vibrate with it, and then the main screen flickered once. More. A transmission intercepted from the attackers themselves. Their words were filled with arrogance. "We will strike the humans. We will take Earth. Their time is over. Their legend is only a story now." The counselors froze. Even hearing such words spoken aloud felt dangerous. To threaten Earth so openly was not bravery. It was suicide. Counselor Shira rose again, her voice low but sharp as a blade. "They have no idea what they have awakened. The galaxy itself will tremble when Earth answers. The humans do not forgive. The humans do not forget. And once their fleets rise from silence, the stars will remember why Earth is feared." Every counselor in the room knew she was right. The attackers had committed the greatest mistake in history. They had awakened a predator that had been silent only because it chose peace. Now that predator would bare its fangs once more. As the chamber filled with uneasy silence again, one thought echoed in every mind. They dared to attack Earth. Are they insane? The council chamber did not calm after the first reports. Instead, the tension grew heavier, like a storm pressing against a fragile roof. Every counselor spoke at once, their voices overlapping in fear, anger, and disbelief. The younger delegates shouted that humanity was not the same as before, that the humans had grown soft in their peace. The elders warned them with sharp eyes, their memories filled with things the young could not imagine. Counselor Theron leaned forward, his old fingers trembling on the table. You think humanity is weak? His voice carried through the hall. I was there when the Draelos fleets burned. I was there when 3 empires united against Earth and still lost everything. I saw it with my own eyes. Humanity does not bend. Humanity breaks those who force war upon them. His words silenced some, but not all. Across the chamber, another delegate rose, his skin pale and his eyes wide with youthful arrogance. That was centuries ago. The humans are not the same. They live in comfort now, building trade and colonies. They have forgotten their fury. This new coalition will crush them before they even realize what is happening. Gasps and murmurs filled the air. Some counselors nodded nervously, others looked horrified at such ignorance. The holographic screen shifted, showing live feeds of enemy fleets moving in formation, glowing with the pride of their reckless leaders. Thousands of ships united under one banner, heading towards Sol. Counselor Shira hissed through her sharp teeth, her scales glimmering under the light. You speak like a child. You think peace has made them weak? No. Peace is their disguise. They keep their claws hidden until they need them. Do not forget what humans are. They are predators, shaped by a world that kills the careless. Do you think they have forgotten? But the whispers grew louder. Some believed the attackers would win. Others feared that if humanity rose again, the galaxy itself would suffer. Old stories told of planets turned into ashes, of fleets shattered in days, of enemies who no longer existed. One counselor muttered softly, if the attackers succeed, humanity will finally be broken. But if they fail, then every world that did not stop them will pay for it too. Humanity will not forget who stayed silent. The chamber shook with arguments. Some called for intervention, others begged for neutrality, but no one dared to send fleets to warn Earth. They were paralyzed by fear, trapped between 2 nightmares, one where humanity fell, and one where humanity unleashed its full wrath once more. A sudden silence fell as another report appeared on the screen. Intercepted communications from the attackers themselves. Their voices were arrogant, filled with laughter. The humans are not gods. They are flesh, like us. Their ships will burn. Their world will fall. The galaxy will see their legend die. The counselors shuddered. Some covered their faces as if even hearing such words was dangerous. To insult Earth, to mock humanity, that was to invite death. Counselor Dareth spoke, his voice heavy. They do not understand what they have done. Humanity's silence is not weakness, it is patience, and patience is the sharpest blade of all. The youngest delegates did not believe him. They whispered among themselves, imagining glory and change in the galaxy if Earth truly fell. But the oldest counselors sat in silence, their eyes haunted. They had seen what came when humanity was pushed too far. They had seen skies filled with fire. They had seen the fury of a species that refused to lose. And now, deep in their hearts, they all felt the same terrible truth. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson once more. A lesson written in blood and fire. The council chamber, once filled with endless debate, now held only whispers of fear. The news of the attack reached Earth faster than expected. In the great chamber of the United Earth Command, leaders, generals, and admirals stood in silence as the message played again and again. Enemy fleets, thousands of ships, were moving, straight toward Sol. They came with arrogance, believing that humanity would tremble, but humanity did not tremble. The silence in the chamber was not fear. It was something else, something colder. Every face was hard, every eye burning with a quiet fury. Admiral Corrin, his uniform dark and sharp, broke the silence. "They dare," he said, his voice steady. "They think Earth has forgotten. They think we have grown weak, but they do not know us. They never knew us." Around the table, the generals nodded. Earth had known peace for decades, yes, but peace had never been weakness. It had been preparation. In hidden shipyards orbiting distant moons, in massive hangars buried under mountains, humanity had kept its weapons of war. Old projects were not abandoned. They were perfected in silence. The world had united not because it had to, but because it chose to. And now all that unity, all that power would rise again. The order was given. Activate the fleets across Earth and its colonies. Sirens wailed. Soldiers prepared, ships awoke, weapon systems came online. Massive destroyers lifted from hidden cradles, sovereign-class war machines, vessels so large they blotted out the stars, began to hum with power. Carriers deployed their wings, and fighter swarms filled the skies like angry hornets. Earth had been silent, but now it roared. In cities across the planet, people watched the news with grim faces. No panic, no chaos. Instead, millions volunteered, ready to defend the world that had raised them. Old veterans returned to service. Young pilots strapped into cockpits. Engineers rushed to awaken warships that had not seen the void in years. It was as if the entire species had been waiting for this moment. On Luna, hidden within its craters, the Titan shipyard opened its armored gates. Out came the Aegis of Terra, a warship so old that legends surrounded it, but so powerful that entire empires had once feared its name. On Mars, plasma forges ignited, creating weapons strong enough to tear through fleets. Even colonies in the outer system sent their war banners. Humanity would not fight alone. Every world born of Earth would rise with it. At the command center, the leaders of Earth prepared their message to the galaxy. The words were simple, but the meaning was clear. We do not seek war, but if war comes to Earth, we will end it. The council, watching from afar, trembled. They saw the feeds of ships powering up, of weapons glowing, of entire planets united under one command. The younger counselors who had doubted now fell silent, their arrogance broken by the sight of humanity preparing for war. But there was more. Earth did not wait for the enemy to come. Humanity had never been prey. They would not sit behind walls and hope to survive. Instead, they would strike first. Fleets gathered at jump points, preparing to meet the attackers head-on. The admiral's voice echoed through the command channels. "If they want to test our strength, then let them find it waiting in the dark." The soldiers answered in one voice, "For Earth." And so, humanity's answer was not fear. It was fire. The first wave of Earth's fleets launched into the void. Destroyers and battleships aligned, carriers released their wings, and sovereign-class warships drifted like mountains of steel, silent but unstoppable. The galaxy watched in awe. Even the council who had doubted now whispered to one another, "The predators have awakened." On the screens, enemy fleets still advanced, their confidence unbroken. They did not yet know what awaited them. But the council knew. The elders knew. And deep down, the galaxy itself knew. The moment humanity moved, the balance of power shifted. The whispers of fear that had filled the council chambers were gone now. They were replaced with silence. A silence heavy with realization. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was answering, and the answer was war. The void of space between stars had always been silent, but now that silence was about to break. The enemy coalition entered the Sol system with banners high and confidence burning in their hearts. Thousands of alien ships glided forward, their commanders smiling with arrogance. They had been told Earth was soft. They had been told humans were no longer predators but farmers and traders. They had been told victory would be easy. They were wrong. Waiting for them, hidden behind the orbit of Jupiter, Earth's fleet lay in silence. Massive destroyers floated like steel predators, their hulls painted dark to blend with the void. Carriers stretched wide, ready to unleash swarms of fighters, and towering above them all, the Sovereign-class warships stood still, their glowing engines humming with power that had not been unleashed in generations. Admiral Corrin watched from the bridge of the Aegis of Terra, his hand steady on the command rail. His voice was calm as he gave the order. Do not fire first. Let them come closer. Let them believe. The enemy fleets surged ahead, unaware of the trap. Their transmissions echoed across space, arrogant and mocking. Earth will fall. Their legend ends here. Their defenses will burn. And then it began. The first wave of enemy cruisers approached Mars orbit, their weapons charging. In that instant, humanity struck. From the shadows of the asteroid belt, human warships opened fire. Beams of light tore across the void, smashing into alien hulls with merciless precision. Entire enemy cruisers shattered into pieces before they could even react. The attackers panicked. They're here! Humans are here! Their captains shouted across comms. But it was too late. Human destroyers moved like hunters, striking from angles the enemy never expected. Fighter swarms poured from carriers, weaving through alien defenses, cutting apart engines and tearing down shields. The Sovereign-class ships advanced slowly, their weapons glowing with unbearable light. When they fired, entire formations of enemy ships simply vanished in explosions that lit up the void like suns. The Council, watching through long-range feeds, fell into silence. The younger delegates who had mocked humans now stared wide-eyed, their arrogance replaced by horror. Even the elders who had seen Earth's fury before whispered in disbelief at the precision, the speed, the ruthlessness of humanity's fleet. The attackers tried to regroup. They launched waves of missiles, fired plasma storms, unleashed every weapon they had. But the humans adapted faster. Shields shifted, countermeasures deployed, and fighter squadrons intercepted enemy fire before it could reach the larger ships. Then came the human counterstrike. Admiral Corrin raised his hand, his voice cutting through the comms. Now, show them who we are. The Aegis of Terra fired. Its main cannon unleashed a storm of plasma so bright that even the council chamber light screens dimmed to shield their eyes. The blast tore through the heart of the enemy fleet, erasing hundreds of ships in seconds. The void itself seemed to scream with the fury of humanity unleashed. The alien commanders panicked. Some shouted for retreat. Others screamed defiance, but their voices were drowned in static as their ships were destroyed one by one. The coalition's grand alliance, once so confident, was now chaos. From Earth, a single transmission was sent to all frequencies. You dared to attack Earth. You thought us weak. This is your answer. The words echoed across the stars as alien fleets burned. Within hours, the battle was decided. The enemy had entered the Sol system with thousands of ships. They left behind only wreckage, floating debris, and silence. Not a single human vessel was lost. Humanity had stood, and humanity had destroyed. In the council chamber, the silence was heavy. Every delegate felt the weight of what they had just witnessed. It was not simply a battle. It was a reminder. Oh, reminder of why Earth was feared. A reminder of why no sane empire dared to provoke humanity. Counselor Shira spoke at last, her voice trembling. They thought Earth had forgotten. They thought humanity had changed. But humanity does not change. Humanity waits. And when the time comes, humanity strikes. And every counselor knew she was right. The galaxy had just watched the most terrifying truth unfold. Attacking Earth was not war. It was suicide. The battlefield around Sol drifted in silence. Where thousands of alien ships had once glided forward with arrogance, now there was only wreckage. Broken hulls spun slowly through the void. Fires burned out in the emptiness of space. The galaxy had watched the attackers march with pride, and now the galaxy watched them vanish into nothing. On the bridge of the Aegis of Terra, Admiral Corrin stood tall, his eyes locked on the fading sparks of destroyed ships. The crew was silent, not celebrating, not cheering. Humanity did not rejoice in slaughter. They only knew one truth. When war was forced upon them, they ended it. And this war had ended before it even began. Earth's fleets moved back into formation. Shields steady, weapons cooling. Not a single vessel had fallen. Humanity had shown its strength with ruthless precision, and now the entire galaxy knew the cost of arrogance. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates sat frozen. No one spoke. The younger counselors, who once laughed at old stories of human fury, now kept their heads low. The elders, who had lived through humanity's past wars, whispered to one another. It has begun again. The predators walk the stars, once more. A message blinked on the main display. It came not from the council, not from the attackers, but from Earth itself. A single broadcast sent across every channel, to every star system, to every species that had watched in silence. The voice was calm, steady, and cold. We did not seek this war. We did not want it. But you forced it upon us. And so we have answered. To all who listen, let this be your warning. Do not come for Earth, do not test humanity. For those who dare, there will be nothing left but silence in the stars. The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. Delegates shivered as the message replayed again and again across the galaxy. It was not just a warning. It was a promise. Across alien worlds, civilians trembled. Governments held emergency meetings. Admirals whispered fears into the dark. Every species, from the oldest empire to the youngest colony, now knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not broken. Humanity had only been waiting. And when the moment came, humanity had answered with fire. Back on Earth, the people stood together. They watched their fleets return through the skies, the massive warships cutting across the clouds like silent guardians. Families gathered in the streets, cheering not with wild joy but with pride. They knew the cost of what had been avoided. They knew that humanity had survived once again. In hidden bases, soldiers returned, weapons lowered, eyes tired but unbroken. They had seen the fury of the enemy, and they had seen how easily that fury had been crushed. They knew that Earth would always stand. On Mars, engineers walked through the forges, watching as glowing weapons cooled. On Luna, the Titan shipyard sealed its massive gates once more, the aegis of terror resting in silence. On distant colonies, banners of Earth fluttered in the winds, symbols of a united people who would never bow. The attackers were gone. Their fleets destroyed, their arrogance shattered. The coalition that had dared to strike Earth no longer existed. Their names would be written in history as fools who chose suicide, but the lesson would not be forgotten. Not by the Council, not by the galaxy, not by humanity. Counselor Shira stood in the chamber, her eyes locked on the fading glow of the broadcast. They will speak of this day, she whispered. For generations, they will speak of it. And every time a species thinks of war with Earth, they will remember this. They will remember the madness of attacking humanity. And so it was decided, without a vote, without a law, without a declaration. From that day forward, there would be no doubt. Earth was untouchable. The galaxy would never again ask, "Are humans dangerous?" The galaxy now knew the answer, and the answer was final.